Let us not judge one another in block. Huh? I think it was brought up sometimes women don't dress properly. Love. How does that fit with dress love? How does that fit with dressing, women dressing in the church? How does that fit? If it's no, it's something is revealing, and you say it's not revealing, but I say this is a revealing to me. What should you do?
You need to cover it up.
You don't need to wear it to church.
Yeah.
I should turn my head. No.
Either don't wear it or cover it up, because
Cover it up.
I have on a dress with the things here, but I mean, I'm kind of self-conscious, so I just covered it up. And it's kind of cool outside too.
Yeah. Now, before you get there. Now, if it's offensive in the fellowship hall, and y'all got ham, and I say I don't want no ham, should y'all bring ham for me to eat?
You don't need to eat it. You don't eat it. Somebody else might want it.
No.
I mean, you can make a choice. Don't eat it.
If that's the only meat you got is ham.
You just won't have no meat.
Oh, if it's the only meat.
Listen. Yet if your brother is grieved because of your food, you're no longer walking in love. Because I love my brother, I don't want him to stumble. I will bring
chicken.
I will bring chicken. Do not destroy with your food the one for whom Christ died for. Okay, next verse. Is that it, brother? Therefore, do not let your good be spoken of as evil. Question. This is about love, greater call. It's not about you. It's not about you. It's about the love I have for my brother. Love, greatest call. This is what Paul is talking about. Love, greater call. Go ahead, my sister.
My sister, I had an ulcer, and I couldn't, my daughter-in-law, say no meat, no citrus of any kind or anything. She actually sent me the groceries so I'll know what to buy. But Darlene cooks good greens, and she ended up doing them with vegetables and everything because she did not want me to have a problem. So those are the things that you can do. Sacrifice as it was, she did it.
That's it. Love. It's not about you. It's about my brother and keeping him from falling. When you get home, you pull out your ham your husband has cooked, and y'all have a good time. That's it. That's it.
It says that Paul encouraged a life of self-denial and consideration for others within the fellowship of believers. He specifically referred to the duty of the stronger toward the weaker members of the body of Christ. So like he said, it's about self-denial.
It's self-denial. It's about me helping my brother keep him from falling. Let's go to the next slide, Brother Thomas. You got another question, another statement?
I just have a question, and I may have misheard you earlier, but did you say in the fellowship hall if we had ham? Did you say that earlier? Because I think that's what you said, and I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. So comment on that if the church, the sisters, or we're having an eating, let's say we have a fellowship and we're going to be eating, and we already got the ham, and someone say, well, I don't eat ham, wouldn't it be advisable to, or inform that person, say, is it, or ask the person, would it offend you if, because we're eating, we already got this here?
Let me clarify myself.
Okay, yeah, because I want you to
If we
clarify.
just had ham, if we just had ham, no chicken, and we love chicken, nothing but ham, and ham would cause my blood pressure to go up.
Well, then you don't eat it.
But since I love ham, we're going to have ham. But God's greater call is for you to sacrifice that day, that hour, not to eat ham for the sake of my brother.
Okay, so that makes sense right there. But now, back to what I was stating, is that if we already had it here and it's cooked, and someone come up to, let's say they come up to me and say, hey, I don't eat ham, I would say, would it offend you if, since we have this eating here, is it going to offend you for us to serve it? And if they say no, then we can do that. But if they say yes, then I would then pull them aside and say, well, then you want to go out to eat and we can go do something else?
Okay.
I mean, you have to have a solution to it.
You have, yeah. And we do have a solution. We have ham, we have an option. Chicken. Okay, modest apparel. The word modest is translated from a word meaning orderly or decent. When we come to the Lord's church, we fix ourselves up. Everybody look nice, orderly and decent. It's not like a worldly event. Plays the idea of avoiding things. I gave an example of that when the women were in the temples. They went to, the prostitutes dressed a certain way. They were coming to the Lord's worship dressing the same way. And then there was the women who were wealthy. They were putting pearls and gold and going to the extreme. That's what I mean by that. Paul was not forbidding the external ornamentation in one dress, but rather the use of such substitutes for true beauty. And we talked about of a woman. Okay? Next slide. Good. Now, that's the first talking about. Adorn yourself. This is what's going to last. We looked at the cross references of some scriptures where that beauty, that when you're young, you're fervent, you got it out that Coca-Cola bottle, eventually that Coca-Cola bottle might go away. So Paul says you dress yourself up and adorn yourself in inner beauty. This is what lasts. This is what counts with God. Okay? He's not saying you don't take care of yourself. But he's saying it's the inner beauty of a woman that should look like a man. The inner beauty. I think when Brother Davis gave an example when he met Mion, it was the inner beauty of Mion that attracted him to Mion, Brother White.
Brother Bob, since the conception of the church has been dealing with the issue of its members not studying. We each have an individual walk with God. It's conducive of each and every one of us to study, to find out what God would have us to do. This congregation offers Bible study Sunday morning and Wednesday afternoons. The same amount that you have in worship, you should have in Bible study. Paul dealt with this in the 5th chapter of Hebrews. You know, we sit here and we figure that if we come to worship, we're good. That's not true. We have to grow as Christians. We have to understand what God would have us to do. We can't lean to our own understanding when it comes to the scriptures. These things could send us to hell. Let's not be sugarcoating anything. If we don't do the things individually that God would have us to do, we're paving our own road to hell. We need to study. When these doors are open for Bible study, the members of the Church of Christ needs to be in Bible study. And we just got to do that. Look at the spews crowd we have today.
Mm-hmm.
If
Okay.
we can get up.
Okay, very good, Brother White. In my next lesson, that's my first point. In my next lesson, deal with that, okay? Very good. Good works. Christian women distinguish themselves through a ministry of good work. Brother, I need you to run with me. Matthew chapter 5, 14 and 16. And while we're running through these scriptures, I want y'all to tell me, what are good works? Run with me. You are the light of the world. A city that's set on a hill cannot be hidden. 15. How do they light in that they may see your good works? Good works. Remember now, keep in mind, I want y'all to give me, what are good works? Now, what is Jesus telling the world? What is Jesus saying about the Christian? He said your good works should be exemplified before the world. So, Brother Carter, what are my good works? He said, and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Run with me, Brother Thomas, to Ephesians 2, 8 through 10. Ephesians. For by grace you have been saved through faith, and that's not of yourselves, it is of the gift of God, not of works. Now, is Paul contradicting himself? Lest anyone should boast. Verse 10. For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for what? Good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. Brother Thomas, run with me again back to verse 8. For by grace you have been saved. All of us know that. Through faith, and it's nothing that we did of ourselves that we are saved, but it just is a gift of God. Verse 9. Not of works. Now what is Paul? We talking about God wants us to do good works. But now what is the context here of works? What is the context? Not of works. What's the context? What is Paul saying?
Know the difference between what God does for us and how we decide to obey him. God expects us to be working, not just sitting on the bench, keeping the bench warm, doing those things that he had mentioned in some of the scriptures, like visiting the widows and the orphans and their affliction and things of this nature. But those works cannot set us a place in salvation.
Well,
God
somebody
gives
say,
us
well,
that.
I'm going to do everything I possibly can for the church. I'm going to work myself to death. Is that going to save you? No. I'm going to come down, I'm going to polish the pews, I'm going to vacuum the carpet, I'm going to shampoo the carpet. That won't save you. But, yeah. Okay, now, where was I? Now, what was my question? What is good works? That's what we want to know. What are some good works? One at a time so I can distinguish. Feeding the hungry. Praying for others. Visiting the sick. Sometimes, now these are self-service. What you say, sister? Acts of love, self-service. What about humility? Down and doing a physical work. The conduct of your mind, how you think, how I talk to Brother Johnson, how I act before the world, that is a good work. Take y'all a little deeper. Huh?
I'm sorry, Sister Tucker. And I think you put a highlight on it. It's not about just doing the work. It's about your manner of attitude. Love what you're doing.
Let your light so shine before who? That's your attitude, how you carry yourself, your conduct. Let me tell you another good word, your humility. Huh? If I walk around boastful and you, Brother Johnson, can't tell me nothing, huh? I gotta humble myself. Huh? Huh? Good work. See, sometimes we think about going to the nursing home, cleaning the building, visiting the sick. But let me tell you, good work involves more than that. Your attitude, your conduct. Self-service is good. Now, I ain't got self-sacrifice is good. Wisdom. That's a good word. That's Brother Davis as an elder. Wisdom as men and women in the house. Wisdom. Gratitude. Gratitude is a good work.
All those things that Brother Carter just said, that's come from within. Now, some of us have to grow to those things now, because we don't come with a lot of that as we come through, as we grow. We have to, that has to grow within us, okay? You know, because people come at us different ways, and, okay? So that's the thing that we have to always keep in mind, that we have to stay under control.
I made a bad decision.
Yeah.
I take this decision, I made it, but it was a bad decision. Humility.
Right. Yeah,
Huh?
Let me say one other thing. Now, when you do that, now she gonna step on your toes. Now she ain't gonna let you just forget it. You know what I mean? She gonna kind of.
Hold up, Dara. hold up, Dara.
I know, brother.
Genesis 3:16.
Okay.
No. Y'all, I want to show y'all sisters something. To the woman, he said. Bad decision on the woman's part. What was the bad decision, sister? The woman did what?
She disobeyed God.
She listened to who? Don't never talk with the devil, y'all. To the woman he said, "Those you listen to the devil, I will what? Greatly. Y'all testify when y'all know what I'm talking about, y'all ladies. I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception. What that mean? When you having that child, I will greatly shake your head if you know what God talking about. In pain, you shall bring forth children. Listen at this one. Your desire. I'm going to hear myself in the lesson, but that. Your desire shall be for your husband. And he shall what? Ladies, your desire shall be. You know why Sister Carter and I have disagreements? Because God says there will be conflicts between you and the woman. Ongoing conflicts. He's the man and you the woman, and you are under the woman, under the man, and there will be ongoing conflicts. It's not that you don't love each other. And your desire, you got to listen. You got to obey that man. Come wrong. Huh? I'm going to come back to it. Y'all sisters woke now, ain't you? Your desire. That means that there's going to be constant conflicts. Victor, when you going to do my honey-do list? I've been asking weeks and weeks. Darlene, just got, will you fix me this? Man, I'm tired.
The Holy Spirit is the Holy Spirit. Why am I doing this? You do it. Even after you do things, you say, you know, why? Am I controlled like a robot? What is, and that's because of the Holy Spirit. It's guiding you to do what you need to do. If you block out everything else, you just stay.
It's because of your obedience to God and your submission. Huh? I'm going to get to it. It's your humility. It's your humility as a woman. It started in the garden. And God said, because Eve, you did this, you listened to the devil, your desire is going to be to your husband, and he's going to rule over you. The man got a punishment too. When you go to work, you're going to sweat. You're going to work hard. Huh? Nobody with me. And he shall rule over you. Now, am I through with my lesson? I'm going to let these ladies talk. Husband, love your wife, even as Christ loved the church. He's not to be a tyrant where he demands that you do it because I'm the head of the house. No. He loves you, and he's going to talk to you in a loving manner. And the word submit means under. You voluntarily do it because God asks you to. Let's get to the question these sisters been wanting to do. Go ahead, Sister Ann. Get Ann the mic. You got a question? I do. Let's get her question first.
I want to go back to the beginning when you were talking about in the temple, in fellowship.
In the temple at Corinth.
Right. If you're in a situation where you're the only Christian in the place and they're getting ready to eat and they need somebody, at least they request somebody to pray for the food. You're not in service, you're not in the building, and you're female. What do you do?
Good question. Now, good question.
They're not of church.
You're in a worldly setting.
A worldly setting. What do? You've been requested because they know your background, they know who you are. What do?
Everybody's going to have different opinions about this. But since I'm a woman and there's a man there, I would let that man pray.
They refuse. The man refused.
They refuse. Oh, okay.
They refused.
They-
No one wanted to do it. No one.
And you the only. And they know, wait. And in some churches of Christ, they say men are not stepping up to the plate and women are taking over the service. God is going to, in the church of Christ, God is going to hold, if ain't nobody there but Brother for sale, he got to pray, he got to sing, he got to teach, he got to do all 5 things the best of his ability. Now in the church of Christ. Now that's a judgmental call on your behalf. I'm not going to say. That's a judgmental call. Because somebody will take me and take me the wrong way.
Sometimes you feel like this is your opportunity
To say something in
say
your prayer.
something, encouragement, thinking of others, all of that. This is your
Yeah.
opportunity. And because you're not in the setting that you know you can't do it,
Yeah,
you take the opportunity
it'll do it.
and do it.
Okay. I'm not going to argue with you on that. Sister Chandler?
I was going to say, I've been in that same setting, especially with my brothers and sisters, and I just go on and pray.
Yes? Okay.
Because I want this opportunity to pray, and then there's good possibility that the men don't know how to pray. I'm not going to give up an opportunity to talk with the Lord.
Okay.
And two, that might give them some encouragement. Now, I'm not telling her to do that, but in my setting with my brothers and sisters and cousins, and the men say, no, Rosetta, because we know how you are, we want you to go ahead and pray. I go ahead and pray.
It might be a family reunion or something, and a lot of times black men are just not stepping. Yeah. Okay, now, I got to get this.
So the question was there women leadership in the church? And the answer to that,
Is what?
was there women leadership in the church? The answer that I had, I started off with Hannah. It wasn't so much that she was leading in the church, but Hannah, let me just read what I have. One role of women is to train up our children so that we can give them back to God. And that's what Hannah did. So even though it wasn't per se in the church, but she was training up her children as we train up our children today so we can give them back to God. And then in Acts chapter 18, 24 through 26, Aquila and Priscilla, they were tent makers, and Priscilla, she was a woman, of course. They took Alexandrian and expounded to him the way of God more accurately. Her and her husband, they did this, so she was a Christian. And the other example I have is Lydia. Lydia, she was a businesswoman, seller of purple. She met Paul and Silas in Philippi. Lydia accepted the gospel and became a Christian. Also, her entire household, they got saved. And when Paul and Silas were thrown into prison, Lydia, she visited them as we visit people and sisters. She attended to their needs. In her house, it became a meeting place for worship. So women, I wouldn't say leadership role, but that was the role that they played, in helping
Who's
the
next?
church.
Very good. Amy. Who's next? Let me go. Y'all finished? Now, there's a difference between role, duties outside of the church and within the worship service. Through the ages, it always have been men who led the worship of God. Hebrews 1 and 1, Brother Thomas. In the patriarchal age, it was the fathers who performed the sacrifices of God. God, who at various times in various ways spoke in time past to the who? Who were the fathers? They were men. By the prophets. Has in these last days spoken to us by his Son, who is the appointed heirs of all things, through whom he made the world. Given to males, 46 and 20. Ezekiel 46 and 20. Ezekiel 46 and 20. This is the place where the priests shall boil the trespass offering and the sin offering, but they shall gain offering, so that they can do not bring them into the outer court to sanctify the people. Who did it? Well, there were no women priests. Okay? The question on what is the role, can a woman participate in the church today, the Church of Christ? 1 Timothy 2, 11 and 12. Brother Thomas, run with me. 1 Timothy chapter 2. Let a woman learn in silence with all submission. What y'all, go back, Brother Thomas, I'm sorry. Submission. What y'all notice about that word submission? Sub means what? Over a man, but to be in silence. The word silence doesn't really mean silence, because a woman can do what in worship service? Sing. But she gotta be, when I say, Victor here, When I say, Darlene, you can speak, you can speak. That's what it means. You have permission from the elder to speak. But you just don't jump up out of order and go to talking. They can help in the instructions of a man. Acts 18:26, Brother Thomas. They can help. So he began to speak boldly in the synagogue. When Aquila and Priscilla heard him, they did what? They took him aside. That means they didn't get up and teach him in the worship. They pulled him to the side. That does not mean that a woman can get up in the work. Well, Aquila did it. No, she pulled him aside. 101. She didn't do it in the worship service. That's my understanding. Okay.
And I was just pretty much explaining the role of women. I was just explaining the role of
now
women.
remember what I said, in the worship service. A woman can teach her husband at home, but I dare her not get up in the worship service, a Bible class, and start teaching the class. Question.
Let's say in a setting like this, and there is a man who have spoken, but not from God's teaching. And no other man in here did not correct that person. And a woman raised her hand and correct the man who made a statement that was ungodly. Would that be out of order? Because there are men in
okay, I know.
Okay.
If I'm teaching the class as an elder, I don't know everything, y'all. And there will be times where I will make a mistake. If Darlene raises her hand and corrects me, she's under my authority and she can fix that mistake. Because as a teacher, I don't want to be so, this is where humility comes in.
That's right.
I'm the elder here and what I say goes. No. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. She is helping my soul and those who are listening.
As a helpmate.
As a helpmate.
Sister right now, her husband's deceased. She said that he wasn't really communicating in business meetings and different things of that sort. So she had him through that. All of the people that were waiting for him, they thought that he was the one.
2:5, Brother Thomas. Titus 2:3-5. Titus. What can a woman do in the church? Older women, likewise, that you be reverent in behavior. You carry yourself like your age. You act.
I just wanted to comment. Always, we handle elders in a specific manner. If I find that you've done something or said something that I talk to you aside, I don't just go up at you in front of the crowd to embarrass you or to bring you down, but with high respect, because God is holding me accountable for the way that I treat his man.
Yes.
You are his man.
Good point. Good point.
That's an elder. That needs to be brought out, that we just don't approach the elder and his mistakes or whatever, just ordinary, just throw him out under the bus, so we say.
And that carries the idea of my conduct outside of the worship. I pull my elder aside. I don't embarrass him in the worship. I pull him aside. But I think if I'm teaching and I make an error, correct me, Because there's a visitor, you have my permission. There's a visitor who don't know the truth, and he gets that truth and run with it. Title, older that they admonish the young women to do what? Man, God said, women, you got so much to do. You teach them young women to do what? Don't make me say it, Sister Chandler. That joke ain't acting right, you get rid of it. No. You teach. You do what? Instruct. You help that younger woman.
Yeah. Yes.
Witnesses. And that's a shame before God. And God gonna hold them accountable.
Brother Carter, I think, can you hear me, sis? Okay, I believe it's all about how your conduct is in correcting a person too. Because see, sometimes it could be combative from start.
Okay.
So a woman has to understand, sometimes you can correct a person by asking a question instead of just trying to correct the person. You can say, well, what the Bible says about this? Then that may start making your mind to go back and correct yourself also. Because here at the end of the day, you are the teacher.
Okay, consider you want me to talk to you. Huh? Consider yourself approached and talked to. Remember now, sometimes people who are worldly do not have that same mindset. That people who are in the church with that kind of humility. So I gotta carry myself in a manner that I know how to approach a person and talk to them, because this is the only thing I know. And I'm coming here with the mindset that I'm doing what's right. So Darlene sees a young lady not dressed right. Honey, come here. When you come to worship service, there's a certain way that you dress. There's a certain way that you dress. Humbly, she talks to her, a woman. I'm not going to do it as a man, as an elder. I'm going to go get a woman to do
it. In training or teaching, as the teachers teach, you have to have a way of how you say things to people.
Approach.
Your approach. In my sewing class, I have those who are trying to tell me how they want to do it, but I don't come at them saying, now you're wrong. I say, well, let's try it this way.
Okay.
And see what happens.
Now, in Bible class and teaching Bible students,
Yes.
it says, know your students.
Know your students was going to be my next
Oh, I'm
thing.
right. Know
yeah,
your students.
that was going to be my next
I might
thing.
approach Darlene different than I approach Marlene.
That's right.
Because I know. Oh.
That's right.
Okay, y'all, the class is over with. We'll continue. Ann, you gonna get Ann? Brother Johnson?
Yeah,
Brother
let's get Ann. They got the right person with tonight.
And I was just going to say, with the older women approaching the younger women, you know, a lot of, depends on their background. They might not even know how to dress for worship or what to wear for worship. you might have to actually take them shopping and say, ask, well, do you like this?
You know how to handle
Yeah,
it,
let them
yeah.
pick,
Yeah.
you find the appropriate clothing, more than one item, and let them pick out that appropriate item to wear, because depending on their background, if they didn't come up in the church, they don't know. They don't know
their
how to
background.
dress.
That's the only thing that they know. And we
Right.
need to be mindful.
Right.
We need to be mindful of that in the church, that everybody's not going to come in the church to a worship service dressed nicely like you all are. I want her to be appropriate enough so that I can talk to her about her soul. And we work with her in her dress. Lord's will, we'll take off again next Sunday. I don't know how many more Sundays